Well, I meant to record more than just clouds yesterday, but at least I recorded those. That counts, right? I did something. I'm visiting my old place with my friends. This is where I used to live. And I ended up spending the night to watch Doctor Who episodes, like, almost all night. And that was fun. But yeah, I straight up forgot to make that other video that I was going to make yesterday. But like, I don't know. I don't feel too bad about it because I at least recorded something. Maybe I shouldn't just talk about that over and over. I don't know. There's like a million fucking things that I want to do. I want to get a haircut. I want to... and all this other stuff, but, like, I don't know. I miss hanging out with people and feeling like a human and all that stuff, and hanging out with my friends helps me do that. And today we've got a D&D game. It's going to be our second session. It was originally going to just be a one-shot, and now we've got our second session today, and I still wanted to revamp my character, and I haven't done that, but now... finally, when I've been trying to do the strategy of just turning my computer on to help me, because like it can be so hard to get me to work on things when it comes to my YouTube channel and stuff. So a strategy that I have started to implement that has been working is to just turn my computer on. That's the only task that I have that day, and then I just like sit around and do things around my computer, so that eventually, like if I do get into the zone, my computer is right there. It's like, you know, doing like whatever small steps towards the thing that you can, because then it helps you, your brain, and what's it called? Something about executive function. It's an executive function thing, I guess. I think. I don't know. I'm not a fucking spectrum expert just because I have autism. If anything, I'm still learning more and more stuff every day, and not just from the internet. Okay, not just from TikTok. But there's only so many sources that I have outside of my therapist, you know? I think it was like 9 months where I was actively trying to get to see a psychiatrist so that I could be reevaluated, basically. So I both for autism and for ADHD, just in case I also have that, because apparently you can have both. And just at the very end of all of that, like, struggle to find a psychiatrist and getting assistance with the issue. I went through one, and there's another, like, group system that I went to that I'm still connected to, where they were both just like, yeah, but, I mean, you seem really depressed. Like, the score on this is that you are very depressed. Maybe we should focus on that, and you can worry about the autism ADHD later. Which, I understand the thought process behind that, but, like, what if those are the issues that are contributing to my depression? Well, there's a lot of issues contributing to my depression, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with myself. There's a lot more that I wanted to say. I don't know, I'm doing the thing where I just go up and down, I guess. And I was feeling down yesterday, so I came to hang out over here, and then I'll go home tomorrow, and not tomorrow, tonight, and then tomorrow I'll start working on things. I don't know why. I need to stop over worrying about that too, though, because when I try, it's like, you know, when I try too hard, that I get stalled, I get stuck. It's part of what happened, you know, especially when I get, like, depressed or stressy-depressy, that, like, things get, like, just more and more difficult to do. Even if it's all just in my head, it still impacts how I can do things out in the world. I'm just rambling at this point, aren't I? Another thing is I'm really torn about what video I want to make. Originally I was going to make like a video I was going to be like talking about the different challenges of adapting the Iron Lung movie, and I have recorded a bunch of footage of me like playing smaller Markiplier themed games, but part of me is worried that that'll bring my viewership levels down, but part of me wants to not care about that and post it anyway, because I know that there's people in the community who would really love to see their work like appreciated, especially when it comes to like Who is Markiplier and In Space with a Captain. I think those are really cool, and I think people should like see them. But I keep thinking like, oh, maybe I'll just make this one big video first. And that's how I've ended up not posting them for a very long time. And now the videos, I'm torn between these, I don't know, I want to like make videos where I talk about making my games. I want to make videos where I talk about, parasocial relationships. I have one vaguely outlined where it would be about like why we love Steve from Blue's Clues. And I'm also tempted to try and like figure out a different like system for making videos for like the writing script part, because like there's aspects about it that I'm not super happy with, but I'm not sure. I don't know, like, I mean, you know, having to like come up with the things to say on the fly. Look how good I am at that right now, you know? So even if I just work with an outline, it could still, I don't know. I should try it. I should see what happens. Just, you know, going off of an outline rather than like having every single line written out and detailed. And I also have to remember not to rush the things. At the same time, like, I have an easier time, like, making myself, like, really, really clear and making sure I'm not saying things clunkily when I am, like, doing a really firm script about it. So I don't know, but, like, I've been reading and I've been on this different subreddits about YouTube and watching how to make YouTube videos, and it's like a lot of it is stuff that I've heard before at this point. I've been studying how to make YouTube videos for more time than I've probably like spent making YouTube videos, at least in the past like couple of years, before I kind of like gave up for a while. Crap, what was I gonna say? Yeah, at this point, like, it's not even like I'm going to that necessarily for advice, although sometimes I'm learning new things here and there, but it's more like it helps me to get inspired, you know, like, because that can be something that can be difficult for me. Sometimes I have like a list of like an inspiration list of like types of videos or songs or movies that are like in the genre of the thing that I'm working on. Like for my game especially, like I'm watching a lot of like detective-y type things like Psych and Criminal Minds, but I've also drawing inspiration from other things like Supernatural and Doctor Who and Sherlock. Oh my god, I'm just doing Super Who-lock all over again. Although BBC Sherlock has betrayed me in such a way that I don't know if I will ever be able to trust it again, so there's that. Why did they have to do that? They could have gone in such better directions. They could have made that such an amazing thing, and then they basically Game of Thrones it. They just destroyed it Inside and Out, but that was more intentional. They were like literally like shitting on the fans for being fans. So like, I think they're like, that series crashing and burning is very well deserved when you think about that. That's just a whole Rambly Ram. This is a whole Rambly Ram, you know. Oops, all nonsense. I don't know, considering how tough this week has been, I'm still pretty proud of how I've managed to technically only miss one day. I was gonna record more. I need to stop griping about that. It's fine. Sometimes it'll just be short little things, and that's fine. It's fine. Right? Right, future me? It's totally fine, right? Yeah? It is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm torn between making an iron lung analysis video, but I'm not even sure if that's a necessary video to make. I don't want to make something unnecessarily, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to just make it just because iron lung, you know? Well, I am kind of excited for iron lung still. And, gosh, I hope that I can go to see Iron Lung, and maybe, it's a stupid thought, but like, you know, if it's big enough that there's like, you know, lines wrapping around the theater, like in the good old days with like really first day releases of things like Lord of the Rings and stuff. I don't even know if we have that culture on movies anymore, but if there's anything that's going to have that kind of thing coming out of the woodwork, it's going to be the Markiplier fandom. And then I suppose there's also the Iron Lung fandom. They seem to be like, there seems to be like a really big fandom in there too of itself without Markiplier. So that's actually pretty cool. And like, you know, it makes sense why the like game devs are super excited about it. Game dev, like, apparently there's people who don't even know that Markiplier's directing it or in it and all that stuff, which is weird to my brain. But, you know, I'm coming from a very different space than those people, you know? I think it's easy to forget that, you know, everybody lives in their own different, like, sort of, like, social bubbles, especially when you are online. Like, you're not online. Everybody, myself included, we get into this point where we expect everybody to have like the same sort of like knowledge and like interest and source of things, but we really don't. Like, in ways we accidentally get kind of like very like, you know, it's almost like the algorithm segregates us in this weird way on all the different social medias, because they're just trying to show us the things that we've already shown interest in, rather than trying to show us like new things that we might be interested in and showing us what other people are interested in, you know? I think that's having a very interesting effect on our little social bubbles. But like, you know, I didn't even realize that like Iron Lung had its own following until recently. But then when I think about that, it's just like, well, that makes sense. It's a good game. Why would I assume that they didn't have it? It's not that I assumed that it wasn't there. It's that I just, you know, but I still assumed that like all of the interest was going to be about Markiplier, you know? Like, because I think that's one of the like catch-22s with the things that he does. Like, you know, I'm very excited for Edge of Sleep. I think it's a good what is it, a podcast audio thing, and I'm excited for when the show comes out and when the next season. I do have a couple of hang-ups and some problems. I do think there's a little bit of a issue and funkiness with some of the cultural tie-ins that they try to create. I don't want to spoil it on anything, but I mean, like, I don't know, in the grander scheme of things, I don't want to be like too harsh on it, because like, you can tell that it's trying to be like it's still good for what it is, you know, even with the issues that I have with it, that and like one of the female protagonists kind of like just existing for the sake of motivating the male protagonists, but that's another trope that's like hard to escape when, especially when you're new to creating things. I don't know how new they are to create. There I go again. I'm assuming that they're new to creating things. That's the thing. Like, as much as I appreciate Edge of Sleep for what it is, sometimes I do worry that, like, you know, Mark being involved with it kind of like might overshadow it for what it is. Like, there might be lots of people who only really like are invested in it because Mark is in it. And I mean, part of the reason I assume that is because, like, I've had interests in things like that in the past, whether it was because of, like, I don't know, Benedict Cumberbatch or David Tennant or Mark Shepard or whatever British guy I was having a crush on at the time. Like, and, you know, it's undeniable that a lot of Mark's user base, is that the right word? No, it's not a video game. Is, like, viewership is, like, a lot of young kids that, like, either, like, super look up to him or just have a very deep crush on him. And, like, you know, so as someone who has, like, watched, like, way too much of Mark Shepard's filmography just because Mark Shepard was in it, and to see him in more things, yeah, it doesn't, you're not really appreciating it for the same, you know, you're only appreciating, when you do that, you're only appreciating it for, like, the one aspect rather than the whole. Like, you might get around to appreciating, like, the whole, or at least other parts of it since you're already there. But, yeah, I actually do worry sometimes that stuff like Edge of Sleep and I worry that Edge of Sleep and things like Iron Lung would kind of be, like, its thing might just be overshadowed by, like, you know, the other big, because Mark's in it, kind of like, you know, how, like, and I mean, like, it kind of reminds me of how, like, you know, David Bowie played, the Goblin King in Labyrinth, and I'm pretty sure he's meant to be shown as, like, a bad guy antagonist. It's been a minute since I've read any interviews or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that the whole intent was to, like, be like, you know, he's not a good guy, he's a bad person, and, like, Sarah being with him would not make sense, and it would not be a good, and yet you've got, like, so many people, like, romanticizing that and shipping, like, Goblin King with Sarah just because it's David Bowie, and David Bowie is so hot and so cool, and, like, but at the same time, I don't think that takes away from Labyrinth as a whole, at least not for, like, me, but it can for some people, I think, you know? So, like, but I'm less worried about that kind of thing when it comes to Iron Lung, because A, it's already got its own fandom, and B, like, I mean, it's gonna be like a rated R horror thriller-y-esque thing, right? So, like, that in itself, like, cuts it into, like, a very specific area within Mark's audience. You know, it's got people who would want to watch that and be able to put up with an ocean of blood, I guess. And I don't know. I think it's... How long have I been rambling at this point? I've been rambling for almost 20 minutes. About... Right. What was I going to talk about? Iron Lung. Yeah. Making a movie. Hey guys, do you think I might have ADHD? But yeah, like, I either want to make the hour-long analysis bit, just to where I talk about, like, you know, things that could go right with and things that could go wrong with making that, just because of, like, the way that you would have to approach it based off of the game and all that stuff, and the way that he appears to be approaching it from what we've been hearing, all that stuff. Or I could work on Why We Love Steve from Blue's Clues, and which is a terrible title, but it's the title I want. Maybe I'll talk about parasocial relationships in the thumbnail, and then parasocial relationships in the description and stuff like that, and then I'll help YouTube get it on the algorithm, but I don't want to over try with that, and, you know, I don't want it to get to the point where it gets in the way of what I want it to be, you know? You gotta have that balance of, like, you know, trying to get all the right words and stuff like that to get the attention of the people that you want to be able to watch the thing that you're doing, but you also don't want to do it to the extent that it spoils the thing that you're trying to create in the first place. Yeah, that's the way to put it together. So either that, or maybe a video where I'm talking about making my game, or maybe even just talking about Avatar, the live action that's coming out soon, and the conflicted feelings I have about that, and just adapting live action in general. I have a video idea where I could compare contrast Doctor Who with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I mostly just want to do that because then I get to rewatch more Doctor Who and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I love both of those, and being able to, like, compare the two, I think, would help me see them in a different light as well. But yeah, mostly I'm just... Hey, Future Ed, what is our next video? Out of those options, what is it? I want to know. Tell me. Right now. Tell me. Oh, okay. Very interesting. And yeah, I keep telling myself, after I post that, then I'll post some of the other smaller videos, but maybe I need to just stop worrying about that kind of thing and go, like, that's what the whole thing is about. Just doing what I want to do, not what everybody else wants me to do. Right? Right? And, like, my viewership has been getting smaller and smaller as far as, like, my recent uploads anyway, so maybe I should stop worrying about, like... I'm still getting that constant influx from my fucking Darkiplier video. It gets me, like, 2,000-ish views a month, if not more. It depends on the month, I guess. And... like, I don't think that's going to be going away for a while. It hasn't gone away yet. It's been getting bigger, if anything. And I don't know. There's so many things I'm trying to focus on. I'm trying to do way too many things, and I know it. Including this. I'm trying to do way too many things. Trying to make a video game. Trying to do my YouTube channel. Trying to, like, not get hung up on views and money with my YouTube channel, even though that would, like, change my life and make me... I don't know, I read all the time about how, like, and I don't imagine I'll get, like, this famous, at least not for a very long time, if I ever do, but I hear about, like, YouTubers, like, they make it, you know, like, I think that it happened to, like, Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps, and even Danny, and a whole bunch of other people, too, where, you know, they finally made it. They were able to be, like, more than just financially stable. They were, like, you know, millionaires because of their YouTube channel and the grind and all of that. And they'd finally done it. And then there just wasn't any, like, bigger challenge presented for them. So they became depressed from that. And I could understand that to some degree. And that might have happened to me if I had had that kind of success in my early 20s. I could totally see that being like, well, you know, even that whole thing that Ethan does where he's just like, have I peaked? And it's like, no. You have not. You're not even close. I don't even think Markiplier has peaked. What are you talking about? But if even I could just get to the point of, like, financial independent stability, which feels like I'd have to be a millionaire to get to that at this point. Because I haven't had that in so long. And even when I did, it still had all these qualifiers, you know? Like, I was living with my partner way back when. It was like, what, 2014? When I first moved in with my first real partner, because the first one's a little, that's a whole fucked up situation. So I don't really count it as my first. And then I just got, like, I was working, like, 2 different jobs, and I was going to school, I was doing all this stuff, and I was, like, so, getting to that point where I was starting to get so confident and happy and feel like I had, like I could do things again, like I could control my life, and have it be what I wanted it to be, and, like, you know, help the people around me and lift them up too, and then I got sick. And ironically, I probably, from the research and things that I've been learning about it, like, some of the things that run in my family, like Ehlers-Danlos and autism and the comorbidities of things, and, like, how they're, like, so many people in my family have had, like, some type of, like, gastrointestinal thing that's tied to their anxiety and moods. Like, you know, just, like, literally your emotions can throw you out of whack just because your emotions affect your body on so many different levels. Especially in my family, we seem to be very sensitive to certain things, like, especially, like, trauma of, like, whether it's a physical or mental, that becomes physical or whatever, that can trigger certain things in certain ways when you have Ehlers-Danlos and all the other things. Like, I don't think my parents ever really believed that I could hold my own, at least not unless I followed their instruction manual of going to college and or finding a husband. I basically spent my entire childhood trying to figure out if I was high functioning or low functioning. And surprise, bitch, those terms don't work anyway. And also, once I started to have less stress and no more constant meltdowns from the stress and all that, suddenly it was so much easier for me to cope with all the problems that I did have. So I started to present less low functioning. But by that time, I had just been through so much bullshit, my own, like, angsty, you know, anime Edgelord backstory. So by that time, I'd just been through too much, and I think that's why my stomach not only, like, in fact, that's why I not only have GERD, but that it becomes as disabling as it does, you know? I mean, before, when we thought it was gastroparesis, like, I was a lot weaker, I was a lot thinner, I was a lot more sick more often. And now I have the right diagnosis. I'm doing a lot better. I'm starting to work out and do all these things to try and be as healthy as I can, but I still have to quit all of my really bad habits of eating things that are bad for me, and I get better at sometimes and I get worse at it sometimes, but it's like, you know, it's never a straight linear line when you're trying to overcome things like that. It takes time, especially when stress eating is one of your unfortunate coping mechanisms. God, what was I saying? Been doing that a lot, losing track of what I was saying. But yeah, like, fuck, hang on a second. Okay. Just literally just went back and watched the recording. But yeah, I think, like, I'm handling GERD a lot better right now, my issues and all that stuff. But at the same time, when it comes to, like, certain things, like certain events, like certain levels of stress and anxiety and depression and all of that, like, I could follow the diet perfectly, and I could be doing all the things like going on walks and working out and all the things I need to do for my health, and I'll still have like a really, really bad flare-up that can knock me out for like days. Like, you know, I'm doing a lot better, and in some ways I don't feel as disabled as before I got my proper diagnosis as far as like the GERD stuff goes. But it's still there, you know? It's still disabling. It's still a thing. And it's not even like the only way in which I am disabled when you really like sit down and consider all of the elements that have come together into the thing. And even though it's not really in the DSM-5, I don't know if I've said this before yet or not, what the hell. Even if it's not really in the DSM-5, my therapist thinks that, like, both maladaptive daydreaming is a potential, like, thing that I have, although I'd probably have a very mild case from what I've been reading about. Well, at least right now it's mild. And also CPTSD, which is literally just PTSD, but with complex put at the beginning. So it's just like, I mean, I don't want to say it's like PTSD on overdrive or turbo PTSD. That's kind of what it is, though. You know, like, but I've been getting better. Especially the past couple of years. I hate saying it, but the truth is, like, I've started to do a lot better, not just because I've been, you know, actually doing the things that I've wanted to do my whole life, but also I'm not talking to my mom anymore. I hate that. I hate that not having her present in my life has actually been good for me. Like, I hate that so much. 'Cause I still love her, you know? She's still my mom. It wasn't exactly healthy, but she was kind of my best friend at one point. At least one of my best friends. But that relationship died a very long time ago. This is not how I thought these were gonna go. I thought it was gonna be a lot more like me talking to future me, which I am kind of doing, and a lot more me just talking about goals and things, and I just keep going back into the past for some reason. You know, I want to be focusing on the present and on the future, but like my past still kind of impacts present and future, as much as I've tried to not let it, especially lately. I mean, it's only in the past couple of years that I've gotten to the point where I finally feel like my past doesn't completely define me. Like, the set of friends that I have now, like, they all know about, you know, what happened, just because, like, when I met them, that was all I really had to talk about. All I really had to talk about was my past, because that was all I had, you know? I had been homeschooled with my siblings, and then thrown into high school, and, like, had all these, like, bizarre experiences that kind of shaped who I was, and that was it. That was pretty much all I knew about myself, was the things that had happened to me. It's only in the past while I've started to kind of, like, just, you know, like, when I meet new people now, I don't really tell them about all those things that happened, because I have other things that I can talk about. I can talk about the ways I've been trying to, like, overcome things, and the things that I've been making, the things that I'm interested in, you know, for me, outside of just writing. That was the only other thing that I had, is that I wanted to be a writer. I guess I was a writer. I just wanted to be, like, recognized and possibly, like, making money from it. If only to just, like, excuse the fact that I was putting so much time into it. God, I wish we had UBI. But yeah, I guess one good thing is that in recent times I have started to make money again, so I'm starting to kind of get back to where I was, where I once was, when I did have control over my life. It's still hard for me to save money. I'm not making a lot, you know. But I'm making something. Even if I could just, like, make $50 a month off of YouTube, I would be happy. Even $5 would just be something. And my Ko-fi is empty, and I know that, like, I just need to keep posting more on it and directing people towards it, and they will come eventually. I could do a YouTube membership thing too. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how other people feel about that. I feel like I don't know. I really don't. Especially because I don't want to make people pay for it, as I've said before. I want it to be optional. But yeah, if I were to ever just get to the point where I was, like, financially stable, I can't imagine that making me depressed because I wouldn't have any challenges. That's just because in the past couple of years I've had too many challenges. I need to put some of those challenges away. Put some of these challenges can just go back. You know, I was kind of hoping that one of my family members might put something into my Ko-fi. Because I have a handful of family that, you know, they're always talking about being supportive and stuff, and I don't want to be like, you know, they should spend their money on me and not on concerts and new homes and blah blah blah. Like, it's not fair for me to think of it like that, but my family's doing what they can for me. I don't want to be too selfish about it. Sometimes I just wonder, like, you know, if, like, all I know is I really, really want to get a haircut before Friendsgiving, and I have to, like, really budget that to make sure that I'm gonna have I'm just so tired of everything being so hard. Like, everything has to be, it feels like everything has to be as hard as humanly possible. Like, even as things have gotten easier, you know, like, my physical health at least has gotten a lot better, and it's been easier for me to do certain things in that way, and I've got my antidepressants and all of that stuff. It's still horrendously difficult for me to make videos because of my rinky-dink laptop, and it's so difficult for me to, like, get out of bed some mornings just to take my antidepressants so I can get throughout the rest of the day. And it's difficult for me to, like, keep up with chores and jobs and this and that and the other thing. Like, can for once, just things just not be hard? Can they just be easy for just a minute? Because even if I just had, like, a couple of months to just relax, or just, even just a year, just a year, I say like it's not a lot of time, but at the same time, like, if I could just breathe for a minute, I don't think I would have to worry about life not being challenging, because I could make challenges for myself. There are things that I want to do that I can't do right now because I don't have the resources or the, like, you know, there's a reason I've designed Unum Diem to be in this way, you know? And it's not because I need something to be low effort as much as I need something to be realistic, you know? I have all these ideas of things, like, you know, people having, like, different, like, role-playing things, like doing, like, a Hunger Games esque thing, but, like, over social media. So people's social media accounts, well, they'll have, like, character social media accounts that get deleted when their characters die, and like, a whole storyline behind that too. And I've got this other thing that I was going to start working on beginning of this year, side quest, and now it's November and I'm not working on it because I'm working on other things, but that's fine, that's fair. I can go with what I've got to learn to do better for when I can be ready for those projects. Because I need to believe I can be ready for those projects. I need to believe I can get there. And it doesn't feel optional. I have to believe I can get there. Are we okay in a year? Are we better than this? Am I doing better than this? At least a little. Alright, bye. I did it. We're getting there, man. We're getting there. We figured out how it all works, how to get, the answer of how it all works, how to get where we want to be is always the same. I'm still struggling not to overeat on fucking things that are bad for me, but you know what? I'm getting better at it all the time. It feels like we're so fucking close at this point. I've actually been making some big moves to help change my life so that I will be, like, more stable in the future. Like, for anyone wondering why I'm 2 videos behind now, it's because, ironically, the very thing that I was talking about in that video, my stomach, just, I've been really stressed out. 1 second we're moving, next second we're not, 1 second we're moving, next second we're not, and, like, there's so much stuff going on with my family and my relatives. Like, nobody's died yet. It's tough. I'm in a tough position. Even now, there's like this part, there's a few parts that I want to cut out just for time, and then there's parts where I don't want to. It's already like 40 minutes long, Jesus Christ. The mom part, I'm tempted to cut that up, because I'm always worried that if I start to talk about the things that happened like that at some point people are going to, like, track her down and trash her life, because I've seen evidence that the internet can do that, but I'm also like, why would I ever assume I'd be that popular? But I'm also like, why would I ever assume that I would need to be popular for something like that to happen, and da 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 da. You know, I want to balance having my own private life and protecting those I love and still being able to express myself. And in a way, I guess I'm trying to overcome that with this. So, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. And I think we're almost there. I think we're about to, like, bounce right off a trampoline, which is going to help us get out of this pit we've been stuck in for a while. And then we'll be okay. Just steadily getting better, and we're going to be okay. We are.